Someone asked, they are all big-name stars. UFC requests point exemption from USADA. Why Brook Lesnar can play even with drugs, but the mouth cannon is pressed in the point pool and must stay for 6 months. There were even people who were willing to fall out with Jesus and stick to their principles, although there is more than one answer. For example, Conor voluntarily withdrew from the pharmacopoeia pool and dried meat, causing drug controversy. But the bigger impact may be that the UFC drilled a rule for big strides to control staying up late. It is because of this loophole behavior. As a result, the major defenses in SADA's heart were tamed by trench soldiers and commercial interests. So when the UFC takes into account reapplication and applies for drug seizure exemption again, Conor became a criminal opportunity for Livy with SADA's knife. So how did the UFC take advantage of to cause SADA to take the money and still talk about it? This has to start with a big step back to the UFC. Stride announced his retirement after playing the Hammer in 2011, resigned WE in 2015. As a result, the 2016 UFC 200 announced his retirement and temporary replacement due to Conor's emotional outbursts. The bones of the headline main game have another drug test problem. However, the UFC 200 issue is a major sporting event with special significance. Superstars who don't have enough weight make the box office. So Stride became the life-saving cavalry of this event. At that time, WDE had not yet merged with EFC. Very open-minded and gave most of the EFC game privileges only for this one game. It is the biggest obstacle to the return of most of them, But it wasn't that simple, because there are 3 big ones. It's not easy to get through. 2015 UFC and UFC officially established cooperation. Therefore, UFC players must strictly abide by the urgent rules of USADA after this. One of them just got stuck. The rule is that if a player returns from retirement, you must stay in the drug pool for at least 4 months to participate. Apparently, most of them announced their return on June 4th, 2016. UFC 270 starts on July 9th. The time must not meet the conditions. Therefore, based on authority and fairness, independent non-profit inspection agency, and it has just signed a contract with YFC for less than a year. The outside world generally believes that there is SADA who will not break the rules and step through the level. It's worth between $60 and $70 million. How could the UFC give up so easily? So in order for most of them to return smoothly, the UFC decided to play around with the rules. Apply for an exemption for most inspections. FC specifically proposes that there is a special provision in the drug test rules. Explain that under special circumstances or when strictly enforced drug testing regulations are obviously unfair to the player, FC can apply for an exemption. There are 3 major reviews to approve. What matters is a special case or a clearly unfair clause. You don't have hard and fast criteria, so it only gave the UFC a chance to play a loophole. The reason given by the UFC is that most of them were retired in 2011. The UFC had not yet been incorporated into the testing system of USA Island at that time. Most of them are not retired returning players. It should be treated as a newly signed player. In the end, SADA passively agreed to immunity. Make most of the feelings perfect. The veteran former champion of the Original C returns to the Original C as a newcomer. But SADA had no idea how big a hole this decision would dig for them, because although the department has avoided the inspection for 4 months, but in the 8 major inspections before the game, most of the 2 near game day failed. The last time was June 28th, 11 days until the competition. But because the inspection process and confirmation time are too slow, the result of the 2 hangings was finally confirmed and was not informed until July 14th. Same as the result on game day. So the gear is a cage that only enters after continuous medication. No wonder Mark Hunt is angry. Don't hesitate to fall out with the EFC completely. And what's waiting for a sprinkle is a meal of activation. Authority for justice and fairness is shattered. Attack force is severely impaired. Hats tamed by commercial interests are pinned to the head. As a non-profit organization, the cadre was later fined $250,000 for a year of competition, because they did take the commission fee for the USB. And it's true that their loopholes in the rules led to this major controversy. A machine successfully completed the race, but this ticket alone cost most of the $250 million. Mark Hunt not only lost the case, in the end, only USA and Mark Hunter suffered the consequences. You have to pay the delivery fee yourself. The only victory is that the result of the game is changed to no result. Fucking beast. Among them, the 4-month drug test time after retirement and return is increased to 6 months. At that time, when the UFC wanted to activate immunity privileges again because of its fat mouth comeback, USADA rejected it decisively on the grounds of independent law enforcement and equality for all. Coupled with the initiative of the mouth cannon, there are 3 major detection pools. The final result was that SADA announced the termination of UFC cooperation, so Conor Time has also become the riot agent that triggers the last tolerance limit of SADA. The 2 powers have since parted ways.